the main thing is a keystone. So okay, so the keystone is used for is a OpenStack component that is used for authentication and authorization. So it's basically right is actually will have a users will have credentials that can use to authenticate, um, can be member of one or more group. So that is known as tenants or projects. So there are certain terminologies which we need to cover in this uh, keystone. So keystone as I said, so is for authentication. So it's basically for each component of OpenStack will have will be part of a service group and tenants, and then there are certain terminology. So that I will cover, and is actually we can save so we can get the information from the LDAP system or for the SQL database. We can store this user in SQL database or LDAP for storing this keystone user. I mean, so there are I will talk about the tenants first. So it is actually is a logical group components of composed of users. So typically in enterprise use LDAP system because every enterprise will have an LDAP system. So what this can do, it can integrate with the LDAP system in house Keystone. So instead of saving the data in the SQL database or MySQL database, we can save it in the LDAP system. So it will be having an LDAP system, so it can be saved. So as I said, tenant are the logical groups components of users. So basically, it's a if you are a company and you are having two different business unit, so you can call one business unit as a tenant. Or in a public cloud, what it meant is I am a tenant. You are also a tenant because you will be consuming the UI, and you'll be having a different login for tenant. For me as well, it's a different login for tenant. But end of the day, it's we are using a shared environment for all for the public cloud. So that is a kind of to give a brief about the tenant. So it's a logical group considering a group of users.
Okay.
Okay. So and right. So the other main thing is the role. So the role defines the level of privilege for a user to the tenant it belongs. Maybe the one role can be an admin role, or it can be as a normal user role, because admin role may not will have all the privileges list the cloud instances which will be provisioned, but for
Okay.
the normal user it may not be having they can't list all the machines. They can only provision the VMs which is uh, which is part of his group. Only provisioning, he can't see all the machines. So for example, a cloud administrator, to lack of a better word, the cloud administrator can able to list all the instances in the cloud, whereas a normal user can only store those in their particular current group. That means a tenant. And the other is the user, which I said it's administrator or the it's normal user. So the user can belong to one or multiple tenant as well. So that is also possible. So and these are the terminologies which is used in Keystone, right? So moving forward, I have used some steps. So there's another thing called endpoint. So it's basically defines the network location of a service. So network location means I think once I cover this demo, you will understand what is that. So let me start with the installation first.
Okay.
It's only on the controller node. So these are the packages. So, so
Okay.
All right. So installation is done. So next is the configuration of the Keystone. So this is pretty complicated and a lot of steps involved in this configuration. So first one is where there is one utility called Openstack config. So this utility helps to configure each services from the command line. Meaning
Okay.
I can add or remove parameters from this using this command line. Usually, if you change, say for instance, I'm just showing you the configuration files of where this will be stored. This will be in etc keystone.
Okay.
This is the default directory. So what I mean is, usually manually, what we need to do etc keystone. Yeah, so it will be like a lot of errors can be depicted in this. So that is the reason I want to avoid. We can use the OpenStack config to configure each parameter.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm starting with the config. So OpenStack config is a set the keystone keystone.conf database connection. So this basically embeds to this keystone saying that the default database of Keystone
My MySQL
MySQL is a format. So
connection system. Okay.
Keystone. So Keystone is a username, like Keystone, and there's a password for Keystone. So I will install this Keystone database and I'll give the right privilege after these steps. So I'm just give now, right? So Keystone for key what controller node controller Keystone. Makes sense? So this is basically the software architecture part because that is something which is designed by the OpenStack software architects, right? To how to consume this configuration file. So this is a standard which you follow in any configuration. Okay, so that is done. That step is done. We'll see whether that is added or not. See here, database connection string.
Okay.
So we don't have to manually do it from the log into the configuration and do it. So next, oops. So that part is done. The next is there is an variable which we need to set it. So that is the admin token. This and all is internal to Keystone. So this is a one-time configuration. You don't have to remember these steps because once configured, we are not going to do this again and again, right? So these
Okay.
are the variables which is used internally by the Keystone for the configuration or authentications because Keystone, as I said, for authentication authorization, so there are certain variables required to do that initially.
Okay.
So
We
what
have
I'm
to.
going to do is I'll type the step first. So what this step means, I am going to create an auto-generated password for admin token using OpenSSL utility. So it will give a 10-digit random in hexa format. You will get a password used for our admin token. What I'm trying to say is, because this is a variable for authentication, so this requires a password. So I'm just creating a password using OpenSSL utility. This utility will help to create random see like this is a password. So I'm just echoing this admin token, so you can see this. Makes sense. So basically, this configuration is required. Admin token is required in this Keystone conf. Okay, so again, I'm going back to the old step OpenStack config. That is Keystone. So I have to define the admin token. So there is a default. So I'm just giving that variable. So you can verify it from here as well. Token.
अभी lowercase. Like grep for that parameter.
Yeah.
Excluding the line which is starting with hash.
No, I'm just saying the default one first. Default is a parameter. Yep, here we go. So this is the password. Fine. Okay. So and we are what is the next step is I'm just giving is verbose is it true. So this you can do it in one shot. Why I am doing it in step by step is or what we can do is we can manually edit the file. So this will help you to control right for the configuration. So that is the reason I have just given. Okay.